Hey, today on the DIY Writer Podcast Show, I've got a fantabulous author who, and again, this is one of those things where I just love this community because they make me say things that I just never thought I'd say. But she is the author of Chin Up Tits Out. And it's a series, and the author I have on the show today is Miranda Oh. Miranda, how you doing today?
I'm fantastic, Jeff, and how are you?
I am doing awesome. So,
Okay, that's
what can
great.
you tell me about Chin Up Tits Out?
Well, it starts, let's just put the books aside and let's just talk about the action of Chin Up Tits Out. And it's not like flashing like you would on Mardi Gras to get those beads. It's like standing up tall and being confident. So if you look at the series, each book is titled something different, but then it's followed by Chin Up. So it's remember no matter what, when all else fails, and just breathe. So definitely you're going through some drama, you're going through some trauma, you're having some dark twisted laughs, but remember literally no matter what to stand up tall, hold your head held high, throw your shoulders back, and stand and look confident even when you aren't. And same thing, when all else fails, when everything goes wrong, try going a different way. Stand up tall, hold your head high. And then at the end of the day, when you start to rebuild yourself after some trauma and some drama, then to just breathe through it, going back to the basics, focus on the inhale in and the exhale out, and standing up tall and confident. It's like fake it till you make it. It's a little mantra that, worked for me and works for some other people, but everybody has a different mantra, right? So it's like find something that works for you, but always remember to be, to stand confident and to look confident even when you aren't, because then eventually the inside will match that outside. So it's just kind of that daily self reminder to get through it, put one foot in front of the other no matter what.
And that's awesome. I the genre that's in is kind of a young adult teen um, you know, fictional type thing where it's about a high school student, if I'm not mistaken.
She just graduated from high school,
Just
so
graduated from high
yeah,
school.
going into college, and the series basically goes through her entire set of 20s, so about a decade covers off the 3 books.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, it's a great message as far as, I mean, you laugh at the title and I think again, I mean, I think it's catching and I think it's, it's actually wonderful. But then I read the book blurb, it's like, wow, you really hit on some things here that people in that age group really need to hear, because you have no confidence at 20. I mean, you kind of do. You kind of did in high school
at 20, because there's no experience behind it. It's like any confidence really comes from cockiness, and it sounds silly, but it's like, man, like I thought I could take over the world at 20.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, no, girl, you can't. You have a lot of life lessons to learn before you can. So
Absolutely. I tried to do that when I was 20. I got swatted down by an old guy. Like, yeah, you need to learn a few lessons.
yeah, exactly. But learning a few lessons brings a lot of opportunity, right? And when you have that opportunity, it's your choice at the end of the day to go down which path. Do you want to go down the path of prosperity and opportunity, or do you want to go down the path of it sucks to be me and the world sucks? Like, of course, the world is going to be tough, and it's a large world filled with a lot of dark things. But if you choose positivity, then your world isn't that bad. No matter how bad it actually gets, it's not that bad.
Right. Absolutely. And that's a message everybody can take to take to heart. I mean, realistically. Yeah, exactly. So what else you got in the works right now? I mean, you're a busy author. You do speaking engagements from what it looks like and everything else. You're multimedia, or not multimedia. Good Lord, I'm showing your digital footprint, your website and everything else kind of lays out who you are. But can you tell us, I mean, what all do you do?
Oh, wow. Okay. So, Typically during the day I work in corporate, so it's very structured, very process oriented, and I create there, which is fantastic. It keeps like my A-type personality brain very happy. And then after corporate is done, I not only write, but I also do host a podcast called Quill and Ink as well. So that is super fun. We interview authors from around the world, and I co-host with another Canadian, actually, Jenna Green, and we split the show into two, where I really dive into the author's personality and who they are as a human being, trying to find like things that are relatable. And we just don't pump out words. Like, we're humans as well. We have passions, we have hobbies. Like, let's dive into that, and then maybe, never know what kind of opportunities come through that. And then Jenna dives into the writing process and the story creation and character building, because like that's totally her niche. I'm all about like, tell me who you are as a human and let's be best friends forever. It is fantastic. And so once Chin Up Tits Out was completed, then I was actually diagnosed with a disease called endometriosis. So it starts in the reproductive system and kind of grows and multiplies throughout time and throughout your entire body. And so it's a real sucky diagnosis to get when you're 30. I cry. Who doesn't cry on their 30th birthday? It's like, oh my God, I wish I was where I wanted to be when I was 20. When you're 20, you're like, when I'm 30, I'm going to be done having kids, live in a beautiful house with a white picket fence, and have no worries. I'm going to have everything sorted out in my life. And at 30, you're like, yeah, so still renting an apartment and have a part-time dog with my parents because don't want that responsibility for a full-time dog.
Uh-huh.
And every now and then the credit card people call me and you're like, that's not where I wanted to be. And then you slap on this diagnosis with your reproductive system. And as a female, your reproductive system is very much a part of who you are as a human. Like, that's what we're taught to be in society, is that we are meant to reproduce. And so I was like, oh man, like, what are you going to do about it? It sucks to be me. And just like my first series, I went through a bunch of stuff, and, long-term or long distance relationship, immigration, mental illness, cancer, addiction. Like, we cover it all in Chin Up Tits Out. So I was like, well, now this diagnosis, of course I'm going to write about it. Like, so that's where the Love My Lady Bits series or idea started. Was, hey, you got handed this diagnosis, let's do something about it. And so I'm in the middle of interviewing 100 women from around the world, and just basically doing what you and I are doing now, like hitting the record button on Zoom and recording their story. Like, tell me about who you are, tell me about your journey, tell me about what you do for work, tell me about your partner, your family, your support or lack of support. And I take a bunch of notes and I'm like, this is going to be great. And so I'm going to turn all of those interviews into a series of books with fictional characters and fictional timelines and all that fun stuff, but it's going to all be based on women's real lives. And right now I'm just over halfway done, and I've interviewed women from over a dozen countries. So it's really cool. You're learning a lot about different cultures and, the stigma and of lady bits in certain areas in the world, and not being able to have your partner or your dad or your brother go get those products for you in the store. Like, it's up to you. And like, what happens if you can't get out of bed? You're SOL. And so you're learning a lot. I'm learning a lot, and then it really humbles me at the same time. And then also you're like, hey, if this works for you, maybe it's going to work for me. So like, let's go back, and you hang up that Zoom call and you go try out this new vitamin, or you try out this exercise or workout, or you call your practitioner and talk about this because somebody in such and such, it worked for them, so let's see if it's going to work for me. And so it's been a journey. It's been a process. I've learned a lot, and I've connected with women that are absolute warriors, and I can't wait to just be able to write that down and share it with the world.
That's really cool. I want to just kind of step back for a second. and you're talking about the stigma of having this
Yeah.
disease or whatever.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because you know, the one thing that that I find with authors is a lot of the good ones, you know, have these personal struggles that they have to get over, not only mentally but physically, and you know, it's what builds them as a person. You know, it's kind of the building blocks or base or whatever. So you know, that feeling of stigma, can you kind of talk about that a little bit? Because
Oh
it's
yeah.
something that people need to, you know, understand, that it's not just you, it's just something that happened, and you know, don't fucking worry about it.
Exactly. Like, so the stigma is like this added pressure, you know, you have an incurable and untreatable disease that starts in your reproductive system. So like really all the symptoms start to manifest in your lady bits and surrounding areas. And as a woman, or yeah, as a woman, I can't speak to being a man, so I don't have the parts, but um but you know, you're supposed to be, I never got those like the commercials on TV as a young adult. I never got the like the yeast infection commercials. I was like, why do they have a cloud? Why are they so grumpy? Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
just a part of you. But then your lady bits get sick, and it really affects your entire life. You know, you start to question your worth. You start to question your ability to do the thing that you're meant to do on this earth, is to reproduce the next generation. Your entire intimate life is put into question, and that now becomes a really hard conversation that you're having to have with a partner, whether that partner be your long-term partner or a short-term partner or a new partner. You're like, hey, so by the way, this is what's going on down there.
Yeah.
And you know, here's the safe word, or like, it can't happen this way. And so it really is it's tough mentally to get over this and not to feel like the world is out to get you and to blame you for not being able to do what you're meant to do as a woman in this world. And when I got this diagnosis, I was like, this sucks. Like, it sucks to be me. Nobody knows how I feel, nobody gets it. But then I was like, okay, hold on a minute, there's like 7 billion people on this planet, like there has to be somebody. And then you're like, okay, so you do your research, and 1 in 10 women suffer with endometriosis.
Mhm.
And it takes 7 years to get diagnosed, because everybody, the doctors go back. It's very hard to get diagnosed. You have to get a surgery. So nobody wants to cut you open unnecessarily.
Right.
Um, and so you have to go through this laundry list of other diagnoses to cross off that it's not this and it's not that. And then you also have other doctors like, it's just a bad period, girl, get over it, suck it up, you got a low pain threshold. And you're like, I'm sorry. If this happened to you, I would really love to see how you handle it. But you just, at the same time, it gave me an opportunity, and thank goodness I had gone through what I had gone through during my Chin Up Tits Out journey. Was I had to be my own advocate. I had to step out of the victim role and step into the control my own destiny role. And that's a very hard role to step out of and into and stay into that, especially when you're bedridden for part of the month, when
Mhm.
you physically cannot walk from the bedroom to the bathroom. And when you do, you're stuck on the bathroom for like 40 minutes. You're just sitting there and you're like, I can't move. I don't want to move. But then you're like, okay, get up, get up, get up, get up.
Yep.
And so it's this huge mental game. And then, well, look at me. I look absolutely, I look beautiful. No, I'm just kidding. But
Absolutely.
right.
You look
But it's,
fantastic. You're glowing.
I showered this morning.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. But it's all on the inside. So endometriosis is considered one of those invisible conditions or invisible diseases because you can't see it. So you have this additional stigma that it's like, it's again, people look at you and they're like, you don't look sick. So why are you making this up? And then we're in the information time, or the age of social media, where if I happen to dare post about me being in pain or something negative, that people are going to interpret it as me looking for attention. And on the same time, I'm like, okay, hold on a minute. Like, don't come at me with this. Look at what I have accomplished in my life. Do you think that the attention that I want to be getting for myself is, oh, poor her leaning mitts hurt? It's no, I want the attention of, look at her go. Look at her stand up repeatedly and continuing to do what she's doing. So I don't post, women with endometriosis don't post that for attention. We post it for awareness, because if you don't have endometriosis, or you don't know somebody that has endometriosis, you have no idea what it is. The thing is, with cancer, whether you have it, somebody in your family has it, or you've never experienced it before in your life, you know it sucks. Cancer is compared to endometriosis, except endometriosis doesn't really kill you. It just kind of continues to grow and cause havoc internally in your body, but it really never manifests externally. So, and science is still developing why it happens, how it continues to grow, even when the parts are removed. And so it's still a whole big mystery in the medical world. So to try to explain that to somebody who doesn't want to listen to it, who's already put in their minds that you're a woman, you're supposed to procreate, you're supposed to be this, and you can't be that. It's very, very hard to get over that stigma. So, I mean, like everything that's going on in the world right now, there's massive change in all aspects of our globe, is just to be open, to be open and receptive. You may not agree with it. You may not understand it, but hey, just listen to that person. If you're the least bit interested, or if you care for them the least bit, just listen, acknowledge that they're in pain or different or feeling some XYZ. And that itself is just the awareness that everybody's looking for, the acknowledgement that we're all looking for, because we're a little bit different than what society states that we should be.
Well, I think, part of that stigma are that people are sometimes idiots. And I mean, they're quick to judge sometimes.
Yeah.
And they don't put themselves in your shoes, nor do they, realize that you're a human being and that you have this thing happening, and nor can they relate.
Yep.
And so all of a sudden they just kind of go, oh, come on, just buck up. You can do this. Oh my, it's not that bad. It can't be that bad. I've never had anything like that happen to me. Exactly. You've never had anything like that happen to you. So shut up and just understand.
Be grateful, right? Like, just be grateful. Like, let me put myself in your shoes is one of my favorite things to do now, because I may not ever experience those things, and that's okay. But to put myself in those shoes and to just be able to feel the empathy, to try to feel what that person is feeling, it humbles you. It makes you a more aware person. It makes you more understanding. But people don't like what they don't know. So, and they all think that they know everything there is to know. And like, don't get me wrong, I for sure fell in that. When I have two very close friends that have endometriosis, and they put that word in my mouth when I started to experience my pain, and I had not gotten a diagnosis yet. And when they had complained or expressed, let's remove the word complained, when they had expressed their journey with endometriosis, when they shared that, it was like, well, this doesn't make any sense. Like, I grew up with no lady bit problems at all. I played high elite sports. I was all over the world. I traveled all over the world. Like, I had no problems that stopped me from anything. And then all of a sudden I was running a marathon, and it felt like everything was going to fall out of me. And I'm like, what is, I don't understand. And it hit me like it hit me like a brick wall. Like, that's all I have to say. And then I looked at it, I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. I was one of those people that I dislike. I, in my head, never outwardly expressed it to them, but in my head, I'm like, it can't be that bad. It can't be like steak knives or electrical bolts or battery acid. It cannot be that. Those are all words that endometriosis women describe the pain to be. And then I felt it and I'm like, oh shit, I was wrong. I was really wrong. And then from there, I was like, okay, if somebody is different than me and explaining something to me, it is now my right. It is my duty to try to feel what they're feeling, even if it's for a minute. Then I will have understanding and I will have empathy and compassion. And I don't have to hold on to that. I don't have to take it home with me. I don't have to sleep with it. I just have to acknowledge it when I'm with them, understand, and then go, okay, I've learned something new and I can step away from it and move on with my life. And learning that something new will help me some way, shape, or form in my future. But to negate, to pretend that it's not there, to say that, oh, it's not that bad for you, that's just, you're limiting yourself from so much growth, in my opinion.
Well, I think, we have the advantage of being authors. And when I say that, as we're writing our characters, we really take a lot of time. Some of us do, some of us don't. I, marginally do, I guess. But the facial expressions, the amount of gruffness in the voice, we study people and we take those traits and we combine them together and create our characters. We also try and convey the pains and the suffering that particular character is going through. And so as an author, we study people like that. And I think that as in a general group, authors probably can convey empathy for other people in a little different way. I mean, we actually put ourselves, when we write a character, we try and feel what that character is feeling, and taking that and actually applying it to life as you study people, because authors study everybody as they're talking to them. just saying. It helps. Versus, the corporate person that sitting in an office crunching a spreadsheet or doing whatever, that has very little human interaction except for when they step up to get a cup of coffee or a piece of cake.
Yep.
And they're like, nah, that's not true, I've never seen that.
What have you seen outside of the Excel documents you stare at for 8 hours a day?
I watched YouTube and I listened to podcasts. Oh, well, you're wonderful. Yeah. What podcast do you listen to? I actually listen to the financial channels.
Okay.
Oh, okay, great.
So no human interaction at all.
What do you do for fun? I study economics. Oh my God, you are so wonderful. Yes.
Well-rounded.
Yeah. My financial advisor and possibly some other people are going to be coming into my door at some point in time, because I've been trashing that industry for some time on my podcast and in some of my writing. I think at some point in time, they're probably going to come and say, we need to have an intervention, because we're people too.
We are people too. Yes, exactly.
Right.
But I think a good financial advisor definitely tries to take in that human interaction. Like, you are talking about life and death and disabilities and longevity of your financial worth, right? And so if they just come at you with statistics and numbers and graphs and charts, you're going to be like, I'm sorry, I don't want to invest my money into that. I want to invest my money into somebody that can relate to me, going like, hey, so you have this condition, or your family has this, like, let's look at scenarios. If you live a perfectly healthy life, this will happen and you're good. If you don't live a perfectly healthy life, this is going to happen. Are you going to be able to cope with living that type of life, cutting these certain things out of your life? And it's like, who teaches you how to plan for all the potential scenarios, whether, and it's not like the specific scenarios, but it's to look at, hey, if something were to happen to me and I were to have to not be able to work and go on disability, how much money would be cut from my income on a monthly basis? Sure. Okay, so instead of bringing $2,000 in, I'm going to bring $1,000 in. So that means I have to look at my monthly expenses and cut out 50% of whatever I was spending on a month in order to live or make ends meet. And that means I won't be living the same type of lifestyle that I'm used to living. Nobody teaches that. Schools don't teach us that.
Oh, no.
Universities don't teach us that. Sometimes our parents might, but usually it's the threatening finger that they give you, right? It's like, don't spend your money frivolously, you know, budget, but they don't necessarily
Do that
explain
voice
why.
again.
It's the power of the finger. So, you know, like that's where I think a financial advisor sits in with, or should fit in with, that human empathy. Like, not to, you know, to like, hey, Jeff's financial advisor, you're welcome. But you know, like my guy is super great. Like we sit down and we have Starbucks once, twice a year.
Yeah.
And, you know, we really just shoot the shit about what's going on in each other's lives. And then he's like, all right, let's talk business. Like, where are you sitting at right now? What are your goals for life? Goals change consistently. And I mean, that comes down to like the mental aspect and goals for personal growth. It's like, if you're not looking at these goals for growth, whether it's financially, mentally, spiritually, physically, who's taking care of you if you're not doing that?
So just to clarify, my financial advisor is really good at numbers. But have you ever seen the Dilbert cartoons?
Yes, it's been a long time though, but
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. Well, my financial advisor is Dogbert. That's exactly who he is. He's soulless. He has, I think we should do this. It's like, you're gonna what? No, we're not. We're gonna invest in what, landfills that burn styrofoam? No, we're not gonna do that. It's profitable. No, it's not. Oh, just stop.
Stop.
This clubbing baby seal business up in Alaska, that's pretty good. Do you want to get into that? No.
I think we're going in the wrong direction here, mister.
I think we are. Yeah, I think just a minute, Satan. Let's just stop for a second.
Yes.
Money's not everything. Time out.
It was like calling the safe word. You're like, no.
I've had enough.
Yeah,
Stop.
Exactly. Yeah.
Careful, I'll put my chin up, my tits out, and you'll be done.
You will be done. I'm probably taller than you when I do that.
Unfortunately, I'm old enough to have my own, so I got boobs.
Hey, that's okay. It's called the dad bod for a reason, right?
Right. It's actually the COVID bod at this point in time.
Right. We laugh up in Canada. It's like the COVID 15. And my old neighbor fell in love just before COVID happened. And so she not only got the COVID 15, but she got like the love 15 or the love 10 or whatever it is. She's just like, it's been a 30-pound gain this year. Like, this is great. I'm like, you go, girl. You eat that love and get that takeout because COVID happened.
Yeah, I think we've all suffered that. You know, I think the funniest thing with COVID and the quarantines and everything is it's really brought a lot of families together.
Sure has. Or tore them apart, one or the other.
Well, I'm just saying it brought them together and they realize they hate each other.
Yeah, sure. I know why I don't see you all the time. It's because I don't like you.
Can't you just go outside without a mask and go to work or something, please? Exactly. We will visit you in the hospital at some point in time, but good God.
Yeah, we'll bring you flowers, the nice kind.
Yeah, the nice kind. The live ones.
Yeah, the live ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty colors, not just the same colors. We'll bring like multiple, the tropical color ones to remind you of the beach that we all can't go to right now.
Yeah, I know almost too many people that have been stuck at home and they look at their spouse and they go, who the hell are you? I remember marrying somebody that looked like you, but yeah, you've been working for 15 years now and I haven't really talked to you all that much. Right. Now, I'm stuck with you, huh?
Right. It's crazy. It's so crazy. I laugh because my parents are self-employed. And so they've worked out of their house since before I was even an idea for them. And COVID really hasn't changed anything outside of like my parents used to travel a lot, but they would travel together. So they were always spending time together. And then like, you know, our house is extra clean. We don't eat more because I think we work harder now because we're always home. Yeah. And, you know, and same thing with my partner. My partner and I, like, again, work from home. And it like we're like this is it, like this is great, we just get to hang out more. Not that we didn't hang out a bunch all the time, but you know, we cook, we use our kitchen. Like the one downfall is that my dishwasher is on every day, if not every day and a half, because we're cooking literally 3 full meals versus, you know, Sunday's prep cook day, because you don't have time or you're tired during the week. You don't want to get home after work on a Wednesday night and you're like, ugh, I have to spend an hour and a half in the kitchen, where it's like, man, I've been home and I can actually take an hour and a half and I want to stand up because I've been sitting at my desk that's 10 feet away from my kitchen. Like it's exciting to cook again in the kitchen, but like my dishwasher, my water bills are going up the wall. Holy Moses.
What I've noticed is that during COVID, I decided to do keto. Ooh, and kind of change. Yeah, that's been kind of interesting. It's been a change. I could not believe how addicted to sugar and carbs I still am, I guess.
Yeah.
And I've kind of lightened up a little bit on it. At first I started, I was like, okay, only 30 grams of carbs a day, you know, and I screwed up my camera. Oh, well. You know, and zero sugar and everything else. And that was, I got to the point where I couldn't enjoy like just eating. And so I had to, you know, add a few more carbs in there or whatever, but still I'm under 100 a day, you know, so it's just
that's crazy good.
Yeah. And it's been amazing for the last 7-8 weeks.
Great.
That I've been on it. Great. But, you know, that kind of stuff I was able to explore in the, you know, glorious COVID quarantine. So woohoo.
Yeah, like there's a bunch of people, like you see everybody going like, hey, I started baking on, you know, during COVID, or I started doing this during COVID, and there's a lot of experimenting in the kitchen that's going on. And it's funny because I'll try a new recipe out and my partner looks at me, he goes, did you learn that on TikTok? And I'm like,
yeah.
Yes. Is it good? Because if it's good, it doesn't really matter where it came from. Like, yeah, experimenting in the kitchen, because social media, some random person, some random place loves this recipe, swears by it, and you're like, I gotta try this out. And then you do it and you're like, it's my new favorite thing. And it's happened a dozen times over the last 6 months. And it's like, this is great. I think I could continue to do this.
I went to the grocery store the other day, yeah, probably about 2 weeks ago, other day, whatever. And I was sitting there, I was in the baking aisle, and I grabbed a bag of sugar, or a bag of flour, because it was on the, you know, the grocery list, which is the, you know, I go out and do the groceries. And yeah, I have a list and I do the list, you know, versus my wife, you know, she'll walk down, oh, we need this, we need this, we need, oh, I forgot about this, you know, or whatever. It's like, no, put it on the list. Yeah. You know, so I mean, when we go shopping together, it's, you know, like this big, huge cart full of stuff. And when I'm on there, it's like, there's 25 things on the list. Let's see, 25. Cool. All right. Got it. Yep. Oh, wait a minute. There's 26. Okay. Yeah. That's cool. You know,
yeah, that's cool. One, my partner's
one over. We can only have a 10% deviation on the actual grocery list. Otherwise, we have to stop. And anyway, so I'm talking to this lady, and she's asked me the differences in flour. And it's like, dude, I'm a dude. I have no idea. It says gold medal flour. There's bread flour, and then there's all-purpose. What's the difference? One says bread flour, and the other one says all-purpose. I don't know. And then she proceeded to tell me a story that she was starting to bake. You know, there is a point to this, so anybody listening, don't shut off quite yet. So anyway, she was telling me that she started to bake during COVID, which was really kind of funny. And she said, you know what I found out? That there's a big difference between adding a cup of sugar and a cup of salt to a recipe. It's like, oh my God. Yeah, she screwed up and she made some brownies and she put a cup of salt in it. And so she was so proud of herself because she had this pan of brownies, and her boyfriend came home and said, oh, I want you to try these. And she didn't think about trying them first. So this guy cuts this big old brownie, and it looks delicious, right? Takes a big old bite of it, and he just goes,
oh my goodness.
And then proceeded to accuse her of trying to kill him.
Poison him. Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
laugh thinking that, I would never do that, but I'm pretty sure I tried to make brownies without eggs way back in the day. And like that was before the whole eggless baking was a thing where
Yeah.
you knew how to do that. And so I was probably like 17 and tried to make it for like my high school boyfriend or something. And my mom was like, yo, you forgot a real important ingredient there. And I was like, oh shoot,
Uh-huh.
crap, my bad. Now, like, I don't, when it comes to, I'll cook. I love cooking. I love experimenting in the kitchen, but I can't bake because baking is like a science. It's exact measurements. And like you measure a quarter of a cup in like a measuring cup versus a measuring whatever those pourry things are. Like they're different. Like you have to measure the cups with the dry ingredients and then actually the pour thing, whatever it's called, with your wet ingredients, because and you're just like, what? I made bread, sourdough bread. That was a big, I wanted to be like pro at it by now, and
Yeah.
I gave up on that dream.
Oh, you just need a bread machine. You just throw
right?
you just throw all the crap in and just push. Make it.
I would be the width of this computer, this camera screen, if I had a bread machine. Like we had a bread machine growing up, and I have these memories of pulling the bread while it was warm out of the machine, and like we would just rip it like animals and like dip it into peanut butter.
Oh, sure.
Or butter or sugar and butter or whatever it was. And then 10 minutes later, 4 of us ate an entire loaf of bread, and we were kids. It was my parents, so they actually suffered from it more than we did. But that was like, my parents had to get rid of it because mom was like, I think I gained 30 pounds in a summer. It was not okay. And like as an adult, you're like, man, I want a bread maker. Man, I want a bread maker. Man, I want a bread maker. My neighbor, she did, a different neighbor of mine, she actually got a bread maker during the beginning of pandemic.
Yeah.
And she would bring me a loaf of bread, and it was, I shit you not, like hard, rock solid on the outside, and then dense and gooey on the inside. And I'm like, I think you have some perfecting to do, but like, thank you so much. She's like, we got to take care of each other during quarantine. I'm like, yeah, we
Power
do.
to the people.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, do you want to come over instead of making bread? Like, we lived in a condo complex, so it was like, you could kind of mix and mingle in between certain units or a couple of units without breaking the rules. And so she was definitely in my circle, and I was like, instead of cooking bread, or baking bread, how about you just come over and like we make something together in the kitchen that's not bread.
See, my wife hates it when I bake or I cook. And I do very primitive baking, and I'm not very good at it, but I can cook, and we grew up with she's a little bit pickier eater than I am. I mean, I love fish, and she's like, yeah, nah, I can't stand it. Same thing with like, milk and, just things like that. So when I cook, and it's like, if I'm actually cooking for myself, it's like I'm making this, stroganoff with all this, rich stuff in it and everything else, and lots of meat and and
Totally.
yeah. Or I'm grilling a steak or, whatever. And I like my steaks to bleed,
Oh, so do I.
Oh,
so
yeah.
good.
And she's like, I'd like mine just a little bit pink. I'm like, you can't eat it that way. It's burnt. But, whatever.
It's totally burnt and dried out.
Yeah. Just if it's still kicking on the grill, it's all right.
Totally.
Type thing. But, that's when you get the real taste and the E. coli. But, whatever.
It's okay. A couple pounds here and there.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. But she's very methodical. And she's very clean. So she'll like do something, wipe up, do something, clean up, do something, clean up. And it's, you look at the kitchen, it's like you didn't even do anything except for this amazing thing in the oven. And she's a great baker.
Yummy.
She can make just about anything as far as baking goes. I go in the kitchen and it looks like somebody blew up the cupboard. And there's shit on the ceiling. I mean, there's
Oh
just,
yeah, 100%.
yeah,
It has to be a guy thing.
I used the mixer and then I pulled it out while it was still going. And it was really cool the way it flung all over the kitchen, and who's going to clean this up? What do you mean? I clened it up. No, you didn't.
Well, no, what do you mean? I cooked, you clean.
Yeah. Tried that, failed.
No. I'm the same way. My partner and I, we both love cooking. He's African, so he cooks really heavy, hearty meals, and he cooks for an army. Like he's okay eating the same food every single day for an entire week for lunch and supper. And I get bored of it after like 2 meals. So I'm like, meh, I'm okay. I don't need to eat this, like it's good. But he'll cook, and it's everywhere, where I'm like, I'll finish a task, I throw out the garbage, I wipe up the counter, and I do it again with the next task. And I grew up in a house where if you cook, I clean. And that was the rule growing up. And I'm like, that rule will not suffice in this household. It will not suffice with this generation, maybe with our future children. But when it comes to him and I, know, because I'm like, my cleanup takes 30 seconds. It's put the dishes in the dishwasher and then pack up the leftovers and then put that dish in the dishwasher. So you're good. Where for him, when he's done cooking, it's like, you have 2 sinks full of dishes, the dishwasher is full, the stove, the microwave, the oven, everything is used. And you're just like, I am not doing that.
Here's what I think is interesting. So, I've got the 3-year-old and the 6-month-old, and my wife eats incredibly fast. In fact, I've got a good friend also who, she just eats really fast, and the mothers get that way because I have 3 minutes and 13 seconds before the kid starts crying. I'm going to eat. Whereas I'm a very slow eater. I like to methodically, all right, that tasted good. All right, what's my next bite, And
constructing the perfect bite on your fork too.
Absolutely, the perfect mix of everything. Woohoo!
Right.
I kind of like to enjoy what I'm eating, and I take my time and I chew slow and blah, 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 blah. And I'll talk, blah, 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 so on and so forth. And about the time I take my first bite, my wife is done eating. Like, holy crap. And, I'm eating alone or I'm eating with the kids because, then she gets up when she has time. Okay. Everything seems to be calm. All right, now I'm going to go clean. No, and she runs over to the kitchen and starts throwing stuff in the fridge and da. And it's all about the time management at that point.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally time management. And it's like when you get that urge to like, okay, and that energy boost, you're like, okay, I just fed. I can go and I can spend about 15 minutes of cleaning before I crash again. You got to take it in and you got to do that. I very much am the same way. Like, especially after supper, there's something about it. If I do it as soon as I'm done eating, then it's done. But if I sit and like enjoy and let it digest for 15 minutes, it's not getting done until the next day. Sorry, I'm tapping out for the night.
Tapping out for the night. Oh.
Totally. We've seen it happen. You wake up and you're like, oh, the kitchen is a disaster. Like, okay. And then you do it first thing in the morning when your cup of coffee is brewing. I realize I have a Keurig. From the time I press the button on my Keurig to the time my coffee is ready, I can have about 3/4 of the dishwasher unloaded. And then and like, that's my least favorite chore. So, like, I'm like, okay, if you do it, you just got to do it. You just got to put your mind to it and do it.
Yeah. About when I push brew on my Keurig, and by the time it's done, I've watched 3 squirrels and a rabbit run across my yard. Yeah, I know.
Oh, you gotta love wildlife.
Yeah.
Especially, it's turning winter here up in Manitoba, Canada. So everything is starting to get that nice little white coating in the morning,
Right.
And we live on the edge of town and we have a farmer's field that we kind of face. So we're very much looking forward to to seeing what tracks we have this winter that come across the farm field, just to like.
So you live right next to a farm field?
Yep.
How do you like the manure?
Oh, it's great. It's
Really?
fantastic. No,
Yeah,
it's
you love
not.
that smell, do you?
Yeah, of course. And luckily it doesn't happen all the time. Like it's just
Right.
when the wind hits. So we lived downtown. We lived downtown for a few years and then moved out into a little community that is surrounded by farm fields. Like Manitoba is pretty much farm fields.
Yeah.
So we have real great neighbors, and it's all suburban around us, in front of us, beside us, but then behind us is this big empty space. So when the wind blows, you're like, oh, that's horse poo, great. But I mean, I grew up in that too, like I grew up outside of the city, and we lived very close to farm fields. I think there was like 3 houses and then farm fields. So it was just like, it's that time of year where fall transitions to winter and crops are being burned, and you're just like, oh, you breathe through your mouth.
So you grew up in the country?
Yeah, I grew up. Well, it was like 10-15 minutes, maybe 5-10 kilometers outside the city. So like country, but like there's a lot more country and isolation within our province that I would never be able to do. Like I can see both of my neighbors if I look out my windows, and I'm happy because the boogeyman can't get me without, potentially getting them first.
So I grew up on a farm in South Dakota. And so we'll be driving, and one of the skills that I have is I can determine what kind of shit it is that they're spreading on their fields. And my wife would go, "Oh my God, what's that smell?" You know what? I actually think that's dairy cow shit. That smells as a distinct smell of silage and dairy cow.
Right.
What's that smell? Oh, that's pig shit. It smells different to me. It's really funny. I'm a connoisseur of shit.
Oh my God, that is absolutely hilarious. I did not get that good during my childhood out in the country, but I definitely know. That it's the season. The season's coming, and everybody's like, that's like that smell of fall to me is not just like moldy leaves. It's like moldy leaves, cut grass, and poo.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, that's cool. Like that's what it is to me. But then you come to wintertime and like Christmas time, and it's like cloves and cinnamon and hot and spice and everything nice, like it's really wonderful. It's crazy. I couldn't imagine a non-white Christmas. I know there's a lot of people in this world that do not have that or have never experienced that, but to have Christmas not be covered in snow and like wear abundance of layers when you go out to your 17 family meals and you eat yourself into a coma for 3 days, like it just doesn't make sense that it's not covered in, 2 feet or 2 inches of ice and 4 feet of snow. Like that's not Christmas.
I think we need to do a little intervention here because, Christmas can happen on the beach.
It can. Probably not this year though.
Probably not this year, but there is some merit to people that put up Christmas lights on their beach house.
Oh man,
it can be
I would
wonderful.
love to see that one day.
Yeah. Someday,
Yeah, goals in life.
Yeah, exactly.
To have a Christmas on the beach. I'd be like, sorry, Santa comes here? He really does? Like, don't his reindeer get hot? Isn't he hot in his snowsuit? Like, or does he change when he hits the equator? Like, change mid-air? I don't know.
Yeah, he just takes it all off and he just delivers in a Speedo.
just throws it out. Some random person gets his snowsuit every year dropped on their roof.
One guy gets
like it. Changed.
Yeah, but the bad part's when he's coming back up and he has to get his clothes back on. What's he do with the Speedo? Does he leave that on or does he throw that into on the other side of the equator?
Oh yeah, who knows? I don't know.
I mean, it's really something to question.
It is really something to question. I mean, he's a miraculous man getting through the whole world in that short time. But I mean, like I guess you have like time zones, so like you have time to like jet forward through them all. But
well, if we're talking about the time-space continuum, maybe he just stops time.
Probably.
Maybe
That
we
would
just
make more
freeze
sense.
for like an entire year while he does his shit, and then he takes.
Right?
Yeah.
Freeze dry. Everybody frozen. That actually makes sense. I mean, we don't understand as humans a lot, or as I guess average humans, a lot about time-space continuum and how it works. It's not just this continuous forward trajectory. But
I assume that Santa's probably a journaler. You know, he probably writes a journal. I could just see his journal. This is Santa, day 273. Fuck my life. Done.
the elves are throwing attitude and shade again.
I'm gonna barbecue me one of those elves one of these days. Anyway, see what they taste like. The reindeer are great.
The reindeer.
Connor, I remember when he called me a little attitude.
Venison.
Satire
has never tasted so good.
Yeah, somebody from PETA is going to be going, "Oh my God, your podcast is horrible." Anyway.
Exactly. Bloody meat, reindeer.
I know it's going to be like, "Hey, why don't you talk about sopping wet vegetables?" Okay, sure. My broccoli is really awesome.
Yummy. Yeah, those stinky fart trees are fantastic.
They are great. Yeah. So, you know, kind of getting back to the old author thing and the Chin Up Tits Out. So, you know, your stories are very intriguing, and I'm sorry I haven't read them, but I did read the book blurbs.
That's great.
And actually, I want to buy these for my daughter. She's 20 years old and going to college and an art student.
Do it. She'll enjoy them.
So just so you know, I've got 4 daughters. I've got a 30-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 6-month-old.
Look at you. You have them scattered across a bunch of different decades. That's fantastic.
I like to space them out.
Yeah. You're going to take all the stuff that you learned within the first 2 and then implement those newly learned mistakes or experiences or opportunities into the second 2. The second 2 should be thanking the first 2.
Well, aren't you cute? You think it works that way, huh?
They're probably so vastly different too. You're like, I can't even compare.
You know, the thing of it is that when you first become a parent, you feel like a dumbass. And by the 5th kid, you're still a dumbass.
That's okay. I wake up feeling like one every day anyway.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know what I'm going to do today, but it's going to be.
It's going to be. The day is going to be. We're going to get through it. Here's a cup of coffee and some food, and you just deal with it.
Yeah, my, my next step on that is, whatever I'm going to do, I'm just going to try and make it fun to watch.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So they can laugh their ass off at me. Hey,
yes, exactly.
Cheers.
Just laugh. Life is tough enough. If you laugh through it, you'll get through it.
Yeah. So your books, is this based on, because it looks like you do a lot of research in your writing. Is this based on, kind of your own experiences, or is this based on, a friend's experience, or did you just come up with this book out of the blue and say, you know what, I'm going to write something about my chin up? And tits out.
It actually came from life experience. So, okay. I had an opportunity to experience immigration and travel. Like I said, I traveled all over the world. So it was really interesting to deal with immigration and experience how difficult it can be in certain countries when there's corruption and greed and racism was involved. And then once that immigration journey was over, then life handed me a chapter filled with cancer, mental illness, and addiction. And that was just a wild ride. You know, those roller coasters that are just really scary, but so exhilarating that you might have to like close your eyes and just do it. You did. And that's what I did. I just autopiloted and did it. I didn't know what else to do. And, then it led into an abandonment, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I basically gave my entire self to a partner that was not able to give me anything back. And no knock against him. Like, he was sick in multiple ways and wasn't even able to provide for himself. So how could he provide for me? And instead of, trying to fight through it and find a way, there wasn't that option for him. So the easiest option for him was to get on a plane and leave and end things. And so there were multiple times throughout the experience that I was like, man, this story is just wild. You know, like I had some guy in the Canadian, it's like some soldier in the Canadian embassy pull a machete on me. And I'm an 18-year-old who was completely oblivious to life and thinking that she could take on life. That, you know, that, and you're like, how, like, your salary pay, or my tax dollars pays your salary, you put that away. Like, yes, I did that.
Okay.
Not
that
the
work?
smartest thing. Oh, it didn't work. I got nowhere. You know, like, and then from the Canadian Health Organization, they called me from Ottawa and were like, so your husband, who was sick with cancer, has a virus that could kill everybody on the ward in the hospital that he was staying at. So we have to give him antibiotics that is $35,000 a dose, and then we need to give it to him 3 times a day. I'm like, I'm 22. How do you expect me? That's more money than I'm making a year. Like, I don't know how you want me to do. And they're like, no, you don't have to. We have to do this to protect the livelihood of the rest of the patients. And now he's in isolation, so you can't see him. And I'm like,
wow.
Okay. So you have these ridiculous experiences that I had literally walked through with my own 2 feet and did not believe that I walked through, could not believe that I was walking through them. And then when it all was done and over with, I was like, girl, you gotta do something about this. Like, you gotta write it out from a healing point of view. You have to assess what decisions you made and why you made them, because I mean, he inevitably got on a plane and left unannounced, but it wasn't unannounced. There were so many red flags. There were so many opportunities where things could have gone in different directions, but where I was in life, where he was in life, where we were mentality, from a mental point of view, it was inevitable for that to happen. And so as a 25-year-old, when I started writing this, and then as a 30-year-old, when I completed the 3rd book, it was really an opportunity for me to say, let's assess myself. And let's see if I can find anybody in the world that can relate to this kind of stuff. And every single time I put out a book, I made a new connection from a different country around the world that was like, this hits home. This hits differently. Thank you. Thank you. And I was like, well, then I did something right. So writing about stuff that I experience, I thrive off of internally. It gives me a mental boner. Like, I just love it. Because then it gives me this huge face first opportunity to really assess my decisions in life, and to assess if I'm doing the right thing for me, for the people around me, if I'm being kind to myself. That's a real big thing. We are really not kind to ourselves. We will talk to ourselves in a really down way. We would never talk to anybody outwardly that way. So why do we do it to ourselves? And this journey of writing about things that I've experienced gives me an opportunity to better myself as a human, continuously be kind to myself, as you know, trying to be a good person, and then relate and connect. And relating and connecting with people is just the best, because then you have that opportunity. Let me put myself in your shoes. Let me see what's up to be you for a day or for a story. And like, I think it's a fantastic way to live. It's a tough way to live, because now you're, you know, sharing your biggest, darkest secrets, mistakes, you know, your family's darkest secrets, all those things. You're sharing them with the world to judge you and to review you. And, you know, at the end of the day, I'm like, that's okay. That's okay. I cried my first negative review, but that was it. I haven't cried since. So, well, about that, I mean, I cry all the time. I'm a hormonal female. So, but you know, it was really a great choice. It was a hard choice. But I love it, and I don't ever want to change it. So I always invite tough situations into my life, because I know that there's going to be a great outcome. There's opportunity for greatness when you're faced with a tough situation. So bring it on.
You know, negative reviews are something that we have to deal with as an author.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is. You put your heart and soul into a book, and then somebody has the audacity not to like it, which is fine. The only thing that I wish is that the people that actually 1-star you, or, usually a 3-star gives you something constructive that's like, oh, I didn't think about that. The 1-stars seem to be in their own little mental box, and they're like, I hate you and everything you write, and you can't spell, and not only that, you smell bad. It's like, oh, well, that's helpful, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
By reading that book, you say I smell bad. Okay,
Great.
My favorite one is I got a guy who said your stuff is just Pentecostal tripe, and I want to get a T-shirt with Pentecostal tripe.
Yeah.
Because you know what? It's my badge of honor. I'm glad you didn't like my book.
Bring it on.
Bring it on. There's plenty of other people that did.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Realistically, but if you're a reader and you're writing a 1-star, the best thing you can possibly do is, instead of being negative and being all write something constructive, something that's going to help us build, because you're as an author, I don't care if you have 1 book or 50 books, you're always building, you're always learning, you're always growing. It'd be really nice if if you want to feel like you're contributing to the author, the indie author movement, that you write something constructive. What did you really hate about it? And
exactly.
More times than not, I think people write those horrible reviews because you struck something in them that they see in themselves that they don't like.
You're totally hitting the nail on the head. It's something that they don't like about themselves, so they take it out on you.
Right. And that's, that inner voice, inner demons, whatever. But I don't know. I just live here in this little room and, write my junk and talk to people on podcasts, which has been awesome getting to know you today. At this point, I think we can probably call this a good program and kind of end it.
Beautiful.
All right. So all of your lovely readers out there want to hear from you. Do you have any other tidbits or pearls of wisdom, knowledge bombs that you want to drop on them?
I think we dropped a whole bunch on you today. It was a lot of real heavy stuff and a lot of real fun stuff. Just remember to chin up, tits out. And if you have lady bits, you got to love them because you're stuck with them. So
this is, I can't say what I was going to say, but anyway.
And if you love lady bits, then you should extra love them.
Sure, we won't go there. We're done. I'm sorry. I need to change my lighting so I'm not blushing anymore. Anyway. This is Jeff with the DIY Writer Podcast. I want to say thank you very much for listening. And if you would, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please follow me on whatever, iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify. And I appreciate you giving us a listen. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye now.